for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENOM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's up guys, Man on Fire here, back to the video, and today I'm bringing you guys another offensive run scheme. This one's going to be one of the best ones I've ever done. The reason for that is it's going to be a really good run scheme out of one of the best passing formations in this gun trips tight end formation. Now we're going to be in the New England Patriots offense today. The reason for that is we're going to be mainly focusing on this 45 quick base in the middle. The other runs we're going to talk about maybe briefly is going to be the halfback counter and the RPO zone alert bubble. But really, some pro players I think have actually switched playbooks from Raiders to the Patriots for this trips tight end, specifically for this 45 quick base, this halfback base. Base is a lot more popular, specifically against this 3-3-5 run D, which we'll be running today on defense, because that's the way you gap shoot. When you have a pulling guard, you can't gap shoot it because the guard's going to be in your way. So just a little bit of patient running. I'll explain everything later, but yeah, there's not really as big of a need for Raiders, especially when people are going with hot route master style of gun trips tight end, because you can really set up any route combo in the game that you want. There's curl flat, there's PA counter go, there's PA shot post or PA shot wheel. The only difference is probably X spot, but you can again create that basically with hot route master. Also, before into the video, make sure you guys do go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 17,000 subscribers right now, so please go ahead, consider hitting that subscribe button if you like what you see. But like I mentioned, just going over these three plays, mainly focusing on quick base. That counter is also pretty solid. On defense, again, we're running 3-3-5 wide. We're going to be running the Mike Blitz 3 and show you guys how to gap shoot out of that as well. If you didn't know already, the way to set this up is going to be shift to that right-hand side. You're going to press your defensive backs, and then all you're going to do is just slant to the left. Basically, with your user, you're going to kind of stand right here, and you're just going to kind of shoot through the gap. So this is the main way to run it. I'll just kind of show with my player right here. This is what it would look like if you timed it absolutely perfectly. So I'm just going to kind of move, you run through, and right there. So you see, that was the computer, and that was me trying my best to shoot the run. I wasn't even touching the offensive controller, and I still could not shoot that gap. So this is the run D. Of course, if I was running inside zone, this would gap shoot it pretty perfectly. I'll also show a vice versa way where if I shift to the other side as well. But here again, you see that time I took the outside angle. Ezekiel Elliott's just going to cut back inside. So it's just very difficult to shoot this run, and you can see how it's going to create a ton of problems. This isn't even me using it, so this is just the computer, and obviously the computer doesn't have exactly the best stick skills. But let's go to the other side. Maybe you think, okay, that could be a problem. Let's actually flip this. Let's put our D line to that strong side of the field, and let's actually slant to the right side and try to shoot it vertically this way. So if you try to do that, you see, well, that was terrible stick work on the offensive side of the ball. But you see how Zach Martin realistically should be able to make that play. Again, that was terrible stick work. The CPU literally ran straight into me, but nobody really even runs it this way. I've only talked about this in one video because it's not the best run D, especially against things like inside zone. And that was, again, perfect timing. If they just snap the ball traditionally, you see right there, Zach Martin's going to pick you up, and all you have to do is a little stutter step in the backfield. So that's pretty much it for the defensive explaining, and I'll still set it up. I'm just not going to obviously run it every single time and control the defensive lineman, but let's go into some of the tips for actually running the ball. And you can do a lot of different things. One of the things that you can do, first of all, is you can actually implement some motion. So I can motion CeeDee Lamb over. This is going to get my opponent thinking about the pass, although it doesn't help with the run blocks at all. He might think about the pass just for a split second. There you see some pretty good blocks developing. And that's pretty much what you want. You want your opponent to be a split second. You see how I had to have absolute perfect timing to even have a shot at stopping this out of 3-3-5 wide. Of course, no other formation should stop it either. 3-3-5 wide is probably the best run D that you can honestly get. So you literally have to time it perfectly. If someone motions over, you're probably not thinking run right off the bat. Even if they are going with a decently run-heavy offense, you still have to respect the pass out of something like trips tight end. It's one of the best passing formations in the game. Now, again, that's not the best stick skills, but that's kind of what you want to do. I'll even just run it stock here, show off this base. I'm actually going to get tackled in the backfield here, so Zeke's ability just kind of gets wiped. Of course, he just dove forward, but yeah, pretty much what I was saying is even against something in the middle, you see, just look at that big hole. Everybody's compressed. You have the linebacker, you have 6 guys in the box. You just run base in the Red Sea absolute parts. It's pretty crazy to me how good this run is, and you see all the possibilities that you can do. I can cut it outside, I can cut it inside, and cut it to the right on the inside as well. Very difficult to stop. Now right here, I'm going to try and actually run it. Right here, I'm actually going to try and run it with 2 controllers. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to just want to give you a kind of a realistic simulation on what it might look like. So you're going to snap the ball, or wrong controller, of course. We're going to snap the ball. You see him right there, and I can cut it back, which was not ideal. But you basically just wait for Zach Martin to kind of loop around. I'll try that again. That was some terrible stick work defensively and offensively. Again, it is difficult doing it with 2 controllers, but you wait for him to loop around, and then you see if you can just do anything now. And with Cedric Wilson kind of doing nothing, that's where I like to motion him to the outside usually. Now, you don't want it to be a tell. You don't want to motion him so far inside. You don't want to do that every single time so that it becomes repetitive and that your opponent can catch on to that tendency. So just a couple of times, but you see no one's going to shadow him. You can kind of motion him over, and this could potentially allow you to cut it back. Now, it depends on the user. You really have to watch the user. Most users will not defend the cutback as the CPU did right there, and that's something that you pretty easily can recognize. But you see, there's not really a reason for me to cut it back unless I necessarily have to. And if you're running this a lot, you should be able to get someone out of 3-3-5 wide. They don't really have good help past that front 6, so it's just very difficult thing to overall defend this halfback base. And you see, it's going to be a headache even if I audible on defense. Let's just go to a random formation. Let's go to 3-3-5 wide. Then maybe I go into 2-4, regular 2-4-5. But this is just stock 3-3-5 wide. And you see, of course, let the blocks develop. That was even slower stick, but still perfect blocks. Let's go to even 2-4-5 double A gap, which you think might work. Set up something like this. This is also a man coverage shell, so you could think it's a little bit better. Now, one thing about man coverage shells is that you can't cut it back at all. You're not going to have anybody, I don't think, defending this guy at all or blocking him at all. So that's one thing you can't do. You can't cut it back. So I just have to run it up the field. Ran right into that guy, but you see how there's a free rusher off the right side, and that also could be the case for 3-3-5 wide. If it is a 2-man under, then there's probably going to be a free rusher, usually that linebacker or safety off the edge. So that's usually going to take away the cutback. Out of base, you don't really want to cut it back anyways, unless his user is just completely looping around and cutting you off. But like I said, if you were to cut it back, try and go right inside right here. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into our next run, which is going to be halfback counter. Now, this run is very unpredictable. I'll say that. You'll probably even see that in the video, how unpredictable it really is. You honestly just won't know. It's going to be a 20-yard gain or a 0-yard gain, no in between. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I'll just kind of run it stock, see how the blocks develop. And you see, right there, we get good blocks. We pick up cool 13 to 14 yards, so that would work. Let's say they set up their run defense, so we'll go with something like this once again. Put this guy over here. Let's just use your Leonard Williams here. So let's go to the counter. You snap it, and you see how the blocks are going to develop really well against the run defense like that. Additionally, so against this specific run defense, it's going to be really solid. That's the way most people run their run D, so I don't expect you guys to see too many other ways, especially against trips tight end. Obviously, if they're in 1-4-6 or something weird like that, you can run counter all day. You can run base all day. Base should work even if they have an inside stuff, but you see how just the setup, one of the best in the game against inside zones, things like that, against bunch, read options. We just run counter and base, and all of a sudden we have life. You see right there, I could get outside. Now trips is not the best formation to getting outside. Counter does a little bit better out of bunch because you have some better blocking, because right here the edge is not sealed off. But again, it's stock. You see, if Dalton Schultz could hold a block, that would be nice, but we have a big play potential. And again, you see, we're either picking up big plays or we're getting stuck in the backfield. Not a run you want to be running consistently, maybe a cool 3-4 times a game around there. I wouldn't run it anymore. I would go with base, just base 10, 15 times. The other run I'm going to talk about is going to be the RPO zone alert bubble. Now you see when you actually audible to it, these guys are going to motion in. So this is a run you want, a play you want to call right off the bat. You don't want it to be in your audibles. You want to call it, you want the players to run out on the field like this, because then if your opponent's not paying attention at all, he shouldn't be able to tell. Now it's fairly easy to tell right now, but in game, you're in the heat of the moment, someone's quick snapping you, you're getting off your adjustments, you're not necessarily focusing on the player position. It's fairly difficult to tell. I mean, just from a stock point. Now we're kind of zoomed out, but right here, I'm adjusting on defense. I'm probably not just noticing something like that, or at least I wouldn't. Maybe you guys are different, but that could be the case. Now, this run defense should be fairly good against this RPO alert bubble. I would expect myself to be able to shoot that gap. Right there, we actually weren't able to. That was, again, terrible user by me. And if, like I said, against inside zone, personally, I don't go with this setup because I don't think it's very good. I go with this setup because I feel like it gives me a better shot to shoot through that gap. So I'll try and set that up again, but out of something like 3-3-5 wide, if they're going with zone coverage, you see how there's going to be nobody over there. This outside linebacker is the one guy you kind of got to watch out for because he could potentially be in a hard flat zone or whatever the case may be. There you see how you saw the angle, how Julian Love would be able to shoot the gap. If you see him shooting the gap, then you probably want to get the ball off. Now, be careful because it's one that just hands the ball off automatically, so you don't have a read option threat. So Dak Prescott will not keep the ball. You have to throw it. Otherwise, he's going to hand it off automatically, and you could get hit sticked right there. But let's show off the bubble a little bit. Now, Cedric Wilson, I don't even know why he's in the game necessarily, but he is not a bad wide receiver. Anyways, you see how you can pick up some big chunks of change here. Even if they go to man coverage, sometimes it will be open. Against man coverage, though, primarily you're probably going to want to keep the ball with Zeke, and that's just going to open up things. Now, similar to the inside zone, what I can do out of this, if they go with man coverage or they're leaving that right side susceptible, something that I could probably do is I can actually keep it and then try and do that stop and go and cut back. So I'm going to keep it, stop and go, and then I can cut back just like that. So that is a threat you can do. The user's way less likely to defend it because he's going to see the bubble. But overall, these three runs are going to go hand in hand together. Of course, pass the ball. It's a mainly passing formation, but when you combine it with this, it just becomes very difficult to stop. Thought I would share these three plays that I think are going to become the best trips tight end for the rest of the year. This Patriots trips tight end should be the most used one out of every one, unless you're trying to have a threat of audibling to bunch tight end, which would be your exception. But anyways, that's going to do for the video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and peace. I'm out of here.